Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. I'm your host, Mike G, and thank you so much for turning us up and turning us on a Monday, joining me as he does every single week during the season for the SEC Power Rankings by SEC Unfiltered is my good friend, Chris Phillips. Chris, Hugh Freeze takes the podium tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of talk and questions about his handicap on the golf course. Is he a +5, a +3? We have to know. What we do know is Auburn is like -86 in recruiting right now, and people are attributing that to a great many things. But talk to me about expectations for the season here. This is a do-or-die year, it feels like, for Auburn based on how the first 2 years went. Hugh Freeze has got to win football games, and he's got to win a lot of them.
Yeah, Mike, first thing, it's great to be here with you in Atlanta, Georgia. Look forward to our segments this season. Admittedly, I've missed them over the spring and summer, so I'm excited. Obviously, as we count down to kickoff, I missed you. It's great to be here with you in Atlanta. But, yeah, as a fellow golfer myself, I'd be curious to know what Hugh's favorite club is in the bag, and maybe we'll kind of tie that into what club would you compare Jackson Arnold to in your offensive quarterback. But, listen, I've gotten a good laugh out of it, honestly, this offseason because – you know, it all comes down to wins and losses. And I understand, though, when you're in the situation he's in, you can't be maybe you shouldn't be playing golf every single day when recruiting is struggling. He doesn't seem to be concerned with it, right? And maybe he's taking on the mindset that it's going to come down to whether I win or lose this season anyway. So, and I think he's trying actively to have a poor recruiting class? No. So, listen, it's the summer, and when you've come off, you know, you haven't had a winning season in quite a while, you're struggling in recruiting, there's some pessimism maybe around the program, and then you're out there and your handicap is public knowledge, right? You can literally log in and go look at it. Everybody's been keeping track of how much he's playing, which I'm like, Hugh, why do you have to track every round you play? That's the only thing. Like, just take a couple weeks off. But my expectations for Auburn, you know, I think this should be a good team. Like, Auburn fans should have high expectations. I mean, I think this should be, at minimum, an 8-win football team. A football team that takes a massive step forward. The offense should be one of the most exciting in the SEC. I was a believer in Jackson Arnold last year. I think he was in a really poor situation. The injuries obviously piled up at Oklahoma. Seth Luttrell wasn't the right guy at OC there in Norman. So, you know, you bring Cam Coleman back. You added Eric Singleton. Certainly there's some questions, but I trust DJ Durkin on the defensive side that they're going to be salty as ever. So the expectations are high. They should be high. Now, do I trust Hugh Freeze to get the most out of this football team? You and I have talked a lot previously. I don't know that I can say that I do. So I don't know if my feelings on the roster and my expectations for what's going to happen and maybe my predictions for what's going to happen all match up, because I know what this team should be, but what are they going to be? They should have been better last year and they weren't. So it's tough to say, but I think there's a reason they're one of those teams when people look at who's the surprise team, who's going to pop, people turn to Auburn because it looks like the pieces are there, at least they should be there.
You know, we don't talk enough about defense, it feels like. There's a lot of talk about the offense. The wide receiver room is going to be one of the best in the country, not just the SEC. You know, they've got solid running backs in Jeremiah Cobb and Damari Alston. There's all the talk about Jackson Arnold. But defensively, Auburn was pretty damn good last year. Now, third down defense left a little to be desired, but nobody ran away from Auburn on the scoreboard. I think Georgia put 31 on them. They beat Texas A&M in a 4 OT game, so that one looked high scoring. But in regulation, it was pretty regular. I have to say, DJ Durkin should have a top 15 defense on the field this year, minimum.
Yeah, I mean, we love to talk the offensive side of the football. That's what draws the reviews and the ratings and what gets fans fired up. But you are right. I mean, they've been salty as any, especially last year. I mean, that was the thing. I remember just on a weekly basis, you and I talking about it, like, that's the thing that kept them in ball games, and it was just how much can you get out of the offense. That was going to kind of determine what the ceiling of the club was. And, I mean, that could be the case yet again, I think, because I would expect the defense, yet again, it's going to, at minimum, keep them in games, probably going to win them a few games as well. So, I mean, DJ Durkin, his resume speaks for itself. Whatever you want to say, some people will say some stuff about the guy from the personal side or just some other stuff that's happened in his past. He's a damn good football coach is all I know. And I expect him to field one of the SEC's best defenses again. I think we talk offense so much with Auburn because it does feel like that's the thing that is controlling where this team goes. Like, I mean, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Look, Auburn has one of the most favorable schedules I've ever seen. On paper, after Georgia, you get Missouri, you get Arkansas. Josh Pate thinks take the under on Arkansas at 5.5. You get Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and Mercer before the Iron Bowl. I don't know if I've ever seen a more winnable stretch of games on an Auburn schedule, and the elimination of divisions has opened the door for Auburn to get that SEC East to Georgia type schedule here. I think under 8 would be very underwhelming given the opportunity the schedule presents.
I mean, is it not sort of similar to last year? I mean, I recall us having – it's a little bit different dynamic, but I mean, I remember saying, in the offseason last year, what if Auburn starts 5-0 and goes into that Georgia game with a chance to be 6-0? Like we sort of painted the same picture as last year. Again, it's a different team now, but just to the point of the schedule being favorable, you're right, because I don't think you took advantage of that last year. And some teams turned out to be a little bit better than we thought they might be. It happens every year. Some are going to be better, some worse. But you're right. On paper, there's no such thing as an easy schedule in the SEC, but comparatively, they got one of the most favorite ones. It starts week 1 at Baylor, though. I mean, it's just you got to come out of the gate strong. I think you need to make a statement. Obviously, you have to win that football game. At bottom line, if all else fails. But I think that's an important opener, man, to build some momentum, get off to a hot start, because you're right. You navigate through the first couple weeks. I mean, the back half, 2/3 or so of the season, it works out. You can build some huge momentum going late season. And then, if Auburn's not in the college football playoff conversation, not making it, but just the conversation of this is a team that could make the playoff at the beginning of November, I think it's a failed season. That's where Auburn should be. They should be in the college football playoff conversation to start the month of November at minimum and be one of those teams we're talking about.
Chris, are jobs on the line this year at Auburn?
I believe so. Yeah, I mean, I think anything less than it's hard to put a number on it because context matters and the way it looks matters. But, I mean, you tell me if you miss a bowl game, is Hugh Freeze back next year?
Yeah.
And I think, here's the problem with the negative momentum in recruiting. If that doesn't make a radical turn in the month of August, and I know we've got to December, and he said, obviously, repeatedly, hey, we're going to get it going. And, I don't doubt they will because he's recruited really well there over the last couple of years. But recruiting is the thing that gives people hope. It is the lifeblood of your program. So as much as I laughed it off over the summer, again, I'm a guy that loves to golf. It's hey, let coach play golf. The fact of the matter is this: perception's reality. And if you're struggling to the degree they are in recruiting, it's not like they're 30th, they're 86th, right? So when you're struggling to that degree, people are going to take it as, hey, he's kind of mailing it in, he doesn't really care, this is not okay. And the fact that he's just kind of leisurely going about his business, playing golf every single day doesn't sit well. So, recruiting is the lifeblood of any great program. And when you have the negative momentum that comes from not having a good recruiting class, if you couple that with losing games and you're at the point you are now in his tenure, I mean, it's going to be really tough, I think, for Hugh Freeze to survive that. I mean, there's a standard at Auburn, and there should be a standard at Auburn. And by this year, if it doesn't work out, what more do you need to see is my question.
Well, 3 years, I think changing coaches after 3 years definitely would be a hard swallow. But
in this era, though, of NIL and portal, it doesn't – I mean, you could argue, it doesn't take as long as it used to, right? I mean, the biggest thing I think you probably latch to is, kind of like Billy Napier last year. You've got a guy waiting in the wings. As good as Jackson Arnold might be, you feel like could be a program changer in Deuce Knight, right? So, do you want to get rid of – I'm not saying you keep a coach just for one guy, but when that one guy potentially has as high an impact as that one guy could – it's a tough decision. So you pray if you're Auburn, you don't come to that, and you can see it out with this kid. I think, again, it worked out really well for Florida. Now we're going to get to see DJ Lagway. He's going to have his first full year being the starter. What if we don't get to a place where we even get to see Deuce Knight take a snap at Auburn as a starting quarterback? I mean, that's the risk you'll run if you move on from Hugh Freeze. But you got to do what's best in the program the long term. I don't think you can hold the program hostage over one guy.
I will tell you this. I feel like John Cohen and Hugh Freeze have their fates tied together. And as long as he's the AD, I think he'll get year 4, no matter how year 3 goes. Because there's a belief in this program that they're close.
Yeah.
I talked to John Cohen on last Monday for an hour on a drive down to Pensacola with the family, and he talked about NIL, and he talked about how Auburn is behind in recruiting because they are playing by the rules and everybody else isn't. But they expect in August that you're going to see the field kind of come back,
right,
so to speak, right? And we'll see if that works out for them. But, it feels like if you look at John Cohen and what he's done in hiring since he's been at Auburn, the primary function of the AD at Auburn is to hire and fire football coaches, period. Look, we love Bruce Pearl and we love what he's doing in basketball, but nobody's getting fired over how the basketball team performs. Right. You're getting fired over how the football team performs. That's your moneymaker. That's what drives, that's what funds all the other sports. So I think this is kind of if this isn't the do or die year, it definitely is year 4. And if he doesn't get 8 or 9, and like you said, if they're not, come November, if they're not in the conversation for the college football playoff, it will be a massive disappointment, I think. Before we get out of here, give me your prediction. I gotta put you on the spot every year. Vegas set the over and under at 7.5.
Yeah, and I will say this: my prediction will be subject to change because I will drop officially my game-by-game predictions in a week or two for every single team in the SEC. Right now, just gun to head with Auburn, it probably feels like they're about a 7-5 team.
Okay.
Should be 8-4.
Taking the under.
Could be 9-3. But I don't trust Hugh Freeze, and that's what I come back to. Okay. So they have the talent to be much better than that. But right now, like, that's my conservative. It feels like I'm going a little conservative, but at the same time, I saw things from them last year that were just baffling and some malpractice and mismanagement of certain players. You and I, again, we talked weekly. There were times where, a Jarquez Hunter's getting 30 carries one week and gets 5 the next. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So Jimmy's and Joe's, though, fix a lot, right? The right personnel will fix a lot. They've got the roster to win much more than that, but like right now, today, I'll go 7-5. Again, my prediction could change in a couple weeks when I drop these picks and we really go through and I kind of digest it. I do a lot of research myself, Mike, but I go a lot of gut, to be totally honest with you. So 7-5, 8-4, I think is about where Auburn. I'll tell you this though, I think one of the two of Oklahoma or Auburn's going to pop. Like it feels like one of those two is going to surprise. I don't know exactly which one yet because Oklahoma's got their own issues too. So I don't know who I trust more right now, but about 7-5 sounds about right for Auburn. But anything less than that, man, I think a change. It'd be realistic. It would be fair to call for it, in my opinion, because I think this team should be better. This program should be better, and I think Auburn should expect better.
Folks, you heard it here first from Chris Phillips. Auburn doesn't have a talent gap. They have a coaching gap, and he doesn't trust the coaches. I'm not sure. I think the fan base agrees with you, honestly. But, we'll see what it turns out to in the fall. Chris, I want to thank you for joining me as always. Guys, that's it for another great edition of the Auburn Express, live from SEC Media Days. This segment is brought to you by our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORTER to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. The summer is here. You want to be outside grilling and chilling with your family. Work out, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. Last but not least, this segment is brought to you by our friends at CameraGraphics.net. Visit CameraGraphics.net for all your audio and video needs. They got cameras, they've got SD cards, they've got everything you could possibly need to run all your electronics. Go visit them in Auburn, Alabama at 1625 East University Drive in Auburn, Alabama. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow with more great content live from SEC Media Days as Hugh Freeze takes the podium. We're signing off, and as always, War Eagle.